When I put into a popular search engine the word global citizen, I got 231 million references, hits or links, whatever you call it. That's when I checked in Germany. When I checked here in India, it was 241 million. Now, don't ask me why that happened. Either it's different internet regulations or hits just went up 9 million in the 3 days that I came here. And forgive me for not being able to go through all of them. And I tried a few, and I came across a few concepts. And I would like to, together with you, look at the different words that make that concept, like global and citizen. Before I start, my own personal story, and again, Mansi tried to call me a global citizen. I get called all kinds of things at home. Mostly I'm blamed for never ever being there. Sometimes people say I'm a globetrotter. That's actually not all that wrong. So I do travel. I like traveling quite a bit. Contrary to the hitchhiker, I do like to travel with other people for the exchange with them. I'm not there yet. I'll try the hitchhiking one day. I'm also called a cosmopolitan as such, not the drink, the person, because I try to connect to other people, other cultures. I like learning languages. People are astonished by the number of languages I speak. Mostly they can't test me, because then they would realize it's wrong also. So all in all, after hearing that I should be speaking about global citizenship and trying it, I was also looking at myself. So to which extent am I a global citizen? And as we go through the talk, you can keep a tab on either me or on yourself, checking on whether you are possibly a global citizen or on your way of becoming one. Now let's look at the definition. Citizen. Now citizen usually refers to being the citizen, a member of a certain country, a certain state, maybe a certain city. That implies that you have an ID card or a passport stating so. We have ID cards and passports in Germany. But it also delineates you from those who are not citizens. So citizens belong to one group, and the others belong to another group. In a more social way of looking at things, a citizen is a part of a community. And that means an active part of a community, not just there. And we heard a bit about that in Rajab Gowda's talk about, basically it was local citizenship, even though it wasn't even mentioned as a term. Looking at global, well, the word is quite, it's quite obvious. It refers to the globe that we're living on, our Earth. One of the funny definitions I read about global citizenship, or global citizens, was a global citizen would be somebody who is a bit of a rotund person. So that was only, obviously it was by somebody who was either not yet introduced to the concept or just first attempt at a definition. But global here refers really to not just the Earth as such, but connecting back to the Earth, like the concept of having some connection back to the place where we live. Now, who is a global citizen? Is a global citizen somebody who travels a lot? Well, helps, I guess. Is a global citizen somebody who has lived abroad or for work or for whatever reason? Is a global citizen somebody who speaks a lot of languages? And if so, how many languages? Is a global citizen somebody who interacts a lot with other people from different countries, maybe having a partner from a different country, maybe even living in a third country? Or is a global citizen somebody who has half his or her friends on a popular social network site from different countries and chatting happily with them? Or is a global citizen even somebody who has, who supports a child in Cambodia with school tuition? Just keep checking for yourself if any of those apply. So as a definition, I'm not going to give you the definition yet. I just want you to follow along. I'll give one at the end. Looking at all these factors, no, I have one more, and that's maybe an important one. Where do you call, what are global citizens those who don't know where home is anymore? who don't know what to call home because they're either not there ever, or they have so many homes, or or their home refers to a different concept than they ever thought. For example, not being is home where you grew up, is home where you're living currently, is home where your parents are from, is home where your ancestors come from. And that is, in the Indian context, I always hear the phrase ancestral home. We don't have that in Germany as such. We might have the homes, but we don't have the concept. So where is home for global citizens? Looking at the people, looking at the concept, the separate definitions, looking at what might be a global citizen, if you look at the first ideas that come to our mind, then what does a global citizen do? Well, looking at citizenship and then looking at the broader scale of it, global citizens do travel a lot, but this is mainly to connect to other cultures, to gain insight, to get inspiration from other cultures. Global citizens also, with that insight, with that understanding of different cultures, different ways of being, different ways of spending your days, making choices in daily life. With this other understanding comes a certain awareness, an awareness that we're very much interconnected. So everything we do or don't do connects to those around us. And in our globalized world right now, it connects to a whole lot of people. And with that awareness comes also a certain way of respect. We all live our lives in a certain way. There's no right or wrong way, I mean, at least on this broader scale, of how you live your life. So the respect that comes with knowing that everybody has to struggle with similar things, possibly. It was also alluded to that we have very much similar when you break it down to certain aspects of life. With that respect comes also a certain solidarity, the being there for each other, doing something that is not just for your own good. And that is also something that connects to global citizenship and not just a local small one. With that awareness, the solidarity, the respect, comes also the call for action. It doesn't just help sitting there knowing everything that we talked about, but also we need to do something. And again, an earlier talk discussed this, especially on a local level. But knowing that our world is becoming a smaller place every day, we need to also see how we can make this world a better place for all of us. And that's something where global citizens feel called for, where they feel like that's something where they can engage themselves. Now here's the part where I'm not really sure if I'm actually a global citizen. But check for yourself with, in your own lives and the people around you. Again, that action part, that activity part is very important. Now, I'm still checking for myself. And here's one other thing. This is me and my brother planting a tree. And other friends are joking that I'm only doing that because I'm raking up so many frequent flyer miles that I kind of feel bad that the air gets polluted because of the CO2 that the planes throw into the air. Maybe that's part of it. This is in the place I grew up in, so it kind of feels also close to home. But here's also the responsibility part. I kind of feel responsible for what I'm doing. So I'm trying to do my little bit of making the world a better place and not be so harmful to the earth. And that responsibility is part of the action again. Now how, if you feel like you want to become a global citizen, how do you become a global citizen? I checked for myself, how come I'm leading the somewhat, not still want to call myself a global citizen, but how did I get to lead this the life as international as I do to a large extent? Is it through traveling a lot? Is it really only that? This is like 3 passports all in one. The newest one is here. Is that it? Just traveling all over the place? And staying in a few places longer, but not in all of them? Is it reading books? And that's why I also got inspired by the earlier talk. I used to read a lot of, no, I still do. I had a lot of children's books and I used to read them. And I was at my parents' place and I asked them, hey, what books did I read? And I remembered 2 books. My dad went up the attic. He didn't find the 2 books I remembered, but he found others. And suddenly memories came back. I brought them for those who are sitting in the first rows. They're a little dusty. For those who read German, can come back later. I realized that I had a whole lot of books that were about foreign countries. One on the right side is Vietnam, and the one on the left is about Northern Scandinavian culture. So it seems like I was pretty intrigued by all the things that were happening in other places. I also read books that talked about children in other countries. This must have been when I was like 10, 8, 10, maybe. I didn't read as early as Chimamanda did. So I read this book, apparently. This is about a kid in Laos, the People's Republic of Laos. And this is important that I mention this. Look at the smiling children. And here there are also nice elephants in the book. So there's some connection back here. And then I also read this book, apparently. This is a Danish kid, and he looks like really kind of sad, or at least unhappy. Now, Denmark back then, me growing up in East Germany, was the evil capitalist country. So I have a feeling that the books I read, or some of the books I read, had quite a distinct bias caused by the propaganda that probably the government put into publishers and their need to publish books that had a certain message. Seems like I kind of brushed that aside. I feel like I'm not all too influenced by my early childhood upbringing when it comes to what happened in school or in kindergarten, for that matter. So back to the main thread. Did this make me a more global citizen? I kind of feel it had a major influence. Now, do you have to have grown up in a big city? Because in a big city, you have more opportunities, you have wider horizons. This is where I grew up. Actually, this is my parents' home. This is the Woodsvare Plate. The Woodsvare Plate. And I'm still here in Bangalore, which is quite a contrast when you look at it. I enjoy both. So maybe connecting those different cultures, the rural and the urban culture, helps me quite a bit. You can pick and choose whatever you like. And I frequently go home. Is it education you can buy through money? Or travel you can buy through money? Is it money that you need to actually be able to afford all these opportunities? I went through, well, some of the money has to be paid, but I was able to get a few scholarships here and there so that I didn't have to pay everything myself. No, my parents had to. And I went through pretty normal schooling, normal for German standards, meaning 12 years plus another one abroad. And I guess that was nothing special, normal school, no elite school. But it did help. I guess I'm here right now. And my parents, I'm thinking, usually influence of parents is very large, but my parents weren't university educated. So it's not like they had traveled when they were kids or young or during their university years or in their jobs. They do now, almost about to be retired, but they now travel a lot. So my parents, it wasn't their general way of doing things, but it was their pretty tolerant view on what I was doing. Not so tolerant on my untidy room at home, but generally pretty tolerant, and I was able to do whatever I wanted to do. And that actually helps. Is it by getting training and getting a certificate and becoming a global citizen, at least on paper? I guess that helps if you find the right program. However, it's not just getting training. It's not just the certificate. It's a whole lot more. I'm wondering, can we think of any others? I think that's quite a list, at least when it comes to my own life. Referring back to the languages that help you connect to other cultures when you speak the language. I only learned my second language when I was 10. So that, I know for Indian standards, that's really late. It was Russian back then, and don't ask me to say anything in Russian right now. My first travel was when I was 6 abroad, was with my parents, with my grandparents actually, to Poland. So Poland keeps coming up. To Poland. I've never been back since. I definitely need to go, especially since it's right nearby where I live now. So in any case, all these items put together was to exposure to other cultures, trying to get yourself out there. It doesn't have to be the other culture of another country. in India itself, you have a vast number of cultures, and you have subcultures as well, all kinds of different ways of living. So expose yourself to that. And connected to that, obviously, a respect for others and your own surroundings. So that could be the way you treat animals. It definitely is the way you treat the earth, the ground. It is definitely the way you treat your fellow citizens, for that matter. And just remember those two, because I feel that that's what breaks it, what you can break it down to when it comes to global citizen. There's, however, a person, and there's academics who have done a lot more research, and they have nice words, and they have pretty definitions. And I'm going to share one with you for those who are more academically inclined. By Michael Byers, global citizens are willing to think beyond boundaries of place, identity, category, and recognize all human beings as their equals, while respecting humanity's inherent diversity. Within their own sphere of influence, global citizens seek to imagine and work towards a better world. So this is kind of all, bringing it all together, and I'm not going to even attempt a better definition, because I think that's very beautifully said. So my final conclusion is really today that it's about the attitude you bring towards life, towards the others around you. And we definitely need a change in attitude, not maybe on the individual level, not on everybody's individual level, but on a whole, on a global level. So let's forget the elite school education. Let's forget money that you need to put into everything. Let's forget all the travel. What all can we forget? A lot of other things that kind of make us worried on a very superficial level, but rather work on our attitude. Because that is, if we change that, if we look at our the people around us more respectfully, look at the globe, our earth, more respectfully, then I think we can really create a world that is more equal, more sustainable, more peaceful for all of us. And that is, I think, what global citizens aspire to do. Thank you.